So I'll leave that conversation out of the podcast, even though we're recording, so that nobody steals our good ideas.
Smart. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Better Basics podcast. I'm Matt Stone. As always, I have my co-host, Dylan Walduter. Dylan, how the heck are you doing today, man?
I'm really good. Yeah, we're about to get a snowstorm, which I'm not looking forward to. It's been a couple nice days in a row here that started to feel a bit like spring, and now I think we're getting 6 to 9
Yeah,
inches.
I don't check the weather, but I've heard rumblings of that same storm. So we'll see what happens up by me. And you know, I, I've been thinking since our last conversation that we kind of talked about our intros into wellness ourselves, into fitness, and kind of how we got there. And I thought it would be really cool for the people if we made a list of our top like 10 things that they can do to get started. Say that they've kind of been waffling, or maybe they've been trying, because that's the thing is, most people have tried to implement these healthy changes into their lives, right? This isn't, very rarely is there somebody that's never tried, or somebody that's going to stick the landing on the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I are both testaments to that, to that fact.
Yep.
So with these tips, I guess it's more like the list that we wish that we had when we were getting started, so that we knew what to prioritize, because there's a shitload of BS out there, of people trying to sell you stuff, and I guess that is not point number one. But let's just start with, if somebody's first thing for you getting back into shape is buying something that they're selling, like, that is a huge red flag.
Huge.
And that's not to say that you aren't going to need to spend some money on some of these things that we're about to talk about, but it's not going to be a somebody's body shred course, or these specific weight training shoes or clothes or vitamins or whatever the case may be.
Let's let's
um,
let's make that number one. Beware of the salespeople in fitness, right?
sure.
Especially be wary of the information. If the information that they're giving you is a path to sale of some sort of a product, you see
Totally.
that all the time, right? Here's the information suggesting that you have this problem, and I'm telling you that, and I'm also the person that has the magic bottle solution to that problem that I'm convincing you that you have. Beware, right? Do some extra research, look further into what they're pushing, because a lot of the time it's misinformed. It's based on some goofy science. It's
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
right?
I think even easier, like, there is no magic pill. There is no supplement. There is no workout program that is going to get you where you want to be. It is about creating the habits. So, I mean, I think it should never really start with buying anything. It
No.
should be stuff that you can do. Maybe a gym membership. If you don't have one, a gym membership, or some equipment for home. But
Mm-hmm.
like, it doesn't, it's definitely not going to be this line of supplements that we have. The study, this study just came out, and especially nowadays, when you have all of these studies, and you can have a study that supports anything that you want, and it will look legit to the layman.
Yeah.
So, and you don't even need to get that deep into the weeds. Hopefully, we can start developing some of that trust with the people that are listening to the show, where we can kind of be that filter,
Yeah.
for what is important, what's not, what to look for, what not. But like, really, I think, yeah, if somebody's trying to sell you something, step one,
And
you got to put your your BS meter should be going off a little bit.
At some point, we should do an episode just around the landscape of supplements specifically, because I think we can talk a little bit about, without getting into the weeds, where a lot of this comes from, some of the studies that are done in mice 2 decades ago that have never been replicated, and really were done with an intention of informing the sale of a product. There's a whole landscape around that to help, because there definitely are some things that you can use to supplement your life, but none of them are a silver bullet. None of them are a cure. And so we can talk about how you might use them as tools. But yeah, beware of the good salespeople in the space, the liver kings of the world. Anybody that looks like they're on steroids.
They probably are.
They probably are. Yeah.
Well, so I've got an awesome free one for number 2.
Let's do it.
It's simple as hell. It's just walk, move. And it doesn't even need, and we say walk / move because, moving looks like a whole bunch of different things. Actually one of my favorite things, I'm not a huge, social media guy, Instagram Reels, TikTok, all that stuff. But one account that really did, grasp me is this guy who now it's been well over a year, but he said, watch me progress as I walk on my hands for 365 days. And this was a guy, I don't really think he had, any gymnast experience. He just, looked like a normal guy. And over the course of a year where he would just spend, some minutes every day, just like moving around, like a gorilla would, you're still using your feet, but you're walking around on your hands too. You're just kind of playing around like a kid would. But that type of movement is going to be just as good. Actually, I would argue even better than strapping on your running shoes and going for a jog, because you're getting a lot more of that full body, mobility and strength, beyond just pounding pavement.
Yeah, it could be as simple as standing instead of sitting, right? Like
for a lot of people that don't do that often.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, it's easy to get stuck sitting at a desk for the majority of your day, and then driving home in the car, and then sitting your butt on the couch. I mean,
go ahead, finish.
That's life for a lot of people, and it's not unusual, and it's what you have to do, right? It's what your job requires. It's what your life requires. So.
What was so when our buddy Kaz, great guy, awesome guy, great father, but he had a super sedentary job. And during COVID, he was working from home. I remember one day he sent, at the end of the day, like 5:00, he sent a picture of his, Apple Watch, whatever like wearable device he was wearing. He had taken like 400 steps
the whole day. Yeah.
Right. So for somebody that is, and obviously that was an extreme example, even for him, but like, if you're somebody that is not moving around regularly, and this is where, I really like, that Pomodoro technique, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. It's like a built-in breaks in the way you work.
Yeah. So it's just, you set a timer for 25 minutes, and once that time, and you work on one thing for 25 minutes, no distractions. You're not checking your phone. You're not bouncing over from this side and that side. You're checking, and you're doing your work for 25 minutes, whatever that dedicated time block is for. Once that timer goes off, you reset it for 5 minutes, and now we're getting up and moving around. And that's the key. You're not just picking up your phone and checking out Instagram. If you want to do that, sure. But like, if you're going to do that, stand up, go outside, get some fresh air, move around a little bit. And, that's just such a simple way to integrate a little bit more movement into your daily routine without having to do anything, really.
That's such a good piece of advice. I like that strategy quite a bit. Anything you can do to habitualize or integrate more movement just into your normal day will work wonders for you, no matter your goal, right? Moving is it's good for you. Walking is one of the top things you can do for longevity. And I think people, especially when they get into fitness, think about, how can I burn more calories? How can the best way to burn more calories is to just integrate more calorie burn into your normal daily life. There's things like Fitbits and step trackers. They're wildly inaccurate, right? Like they're not telling you exactly how many steps you've taken, but they are an inexpensive thing that you could consider investing in that'll at least start to give you some data points around just general movement, right? So like Takaz's Apple Watch story, he had 400 steps. Was it 400 steps? I don't know. It wasn't very much movement that day, right? And so at least he has that as a point of reference to say, I should get up, maybe more frequently from my desk just to move a bit more. I should take a 10-minute walk after my breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I should schedule an hour-long walk with my wife once a day. Whatever it is, how can you integrate just more movement into your day? Because it's that total daily energy expenditure, TDEE, and that's getting a bit scientific, but that ultimately will contribute greatly to your energy balance, to how many calories you burn in a given day. And the best thing you can do is just walk more.
Well, and also, but the benefits are more than just calorie burn, because
Way more.
you'll see a lot of kind of like meathead influencers in the space that'll argue that walking is the best stretching that you can do. And while I'm not, I think there's value to other forms of stretching as well. Just mechanically, it is a great way to to make sure that your those lower body joints are functioning the way that they should. And so if you're somebody with chronic low back pain, if you're somebody that has lingering joint pains, just moving around is going to help. But then also, you said like the 5 to 10 minute walk after eating. So
Yeah.
that's another thing. If you're somebody that suffers from gut pains, if things are kind of off in your belly, I mean, that's a great place to start.
Helps with digestion, helps with blood sugar regulation. Yeah, I mean, it's such a simple thing. It's not something that you can sell, but it works really, really well. So number one, just move more and integrate it habitually into your life in whatever way works best for you. Number two, and we talked about this a little bit in the last episode, but again, this is such a simple thing that really worked greatly for me in a number of different ways, is just to eat at the dinner table, or eat at the table. Sit down, be present with your food, be grateful for it, enjoy it, taste it, chew it, take your time with it. That'll work wonders for you in a myriad of different ways. We talked last time a bit about from a digestion perspective, right? Digestion starts in your mouth. The more you chew, the more you relax, the more you can get into a state where your body is able to digest its food instead of being all wound up and struggle to digest its food. Will work wonders for you with regard to just gut health and the like. But also, there's countless studies that show that distracted eating leads to eating more, right? And we know that food is good. A lot of times it's really hyper palatable, and it can get easy to sit down in front of something else that's distracting you and have gone through the whole row of Oreos. I've done it many times, right? If you sit down and consciously put a couple Oreos on your plate and chew them and enjoy them and think about how good they are, you're not going to eat the whole row. You're going to enjoy it more, and you're going to feel better about the whole situation. So there's a ton of benefits to just figuring out how to be more present with the experience of eating.
And if you decide that you are going to eat the whole roll, like if you're going to eat the whole box, like it's going to feel like more of a chore because it's taking more time.
Yeah.
But also, like, let's just say that you really were hungry and you really wanted that treat, whatever reason. Maybe it's a coping mechanism that you're kind of sorting out right now, and so you're using it as a as a way to deal with stress. I promise you, if you're sitting there and being intentional with every single, with that whole, 24 Oreos, it's going to feel a hell of a lot better than if you were doing it in front of the TV, because it's such a disconnect that we've created. And here's another one, because I think the obvious one is not eating, in front of the TV, but something that I had to implement for myself was not eating in the car. And that's a rule that I'm still not perfect on, but I try to be so much, trying to be so much better, because it becomes so easy throughout the day to just, pick up a snack and eat it while you're driving, not pay attention to it. You got one hand on the wheel, one in this bag of chips or whatever, and you're not being intentional with either. And so that is a, not only is it an issue with consuming extra calories, but the stress
Yeah.
that you're adding to your day, and you don't even realize it. So, that's one that I tell that to all of my clients when we start talking about nutrition, because everybody, what people want is this meal plan that's restrictive, and they can hate it and they're not going to stick to it. But when, because that's what they think they need. But if you step back from all of that and just think about what you're already doing, and just how can you optimize what you're doing without even changing the diet too much.
Mm-hmm.
Just how do I eat? When do I eat? And in what situations am I eating? Is it because of stress? Is it because of boredom? Or is it because, my body's actually looking for fuel?
Yeah, there's a deeper lesson in all of it too. Our lives are so fast paced and so
Yeah.
go, go, go. And the way that we eat and experience food, I think, has become a part of that puzzle. And just to, in general, try to figure out ways just to slow down from a stress and just mental well-being perspective, I think you may find great benefit as well. I'm very much that way. Matt, I walk fast as hell. I'm always go, go, go. My ass kind of sticks out when I walk. I got it from
Oh
my
yeah.
mom. And I'll catch myself in that race, that rat race, and often have to remind myself just to breathe, to slow down, to let a bit more of life come to me. And I've found great benefit from a mental health perspective in that regard. On the nutrition front, Matt, the next one
Oh,
it's simple, and I think you and I both, when we talk to people about things they can do from a nutrition perspective, instead of going deep into a meal plan, instead of emphasizing or villainizing different types of foods, we simply just tell people, and this is something I implement in my own life as well, just to try to eat some more protein, right? Focus
yeah.
on the protein first.
Right. Well, I mean, so one, protein is the, macronutrient that is responsible for, that is going to build muscle. Obviously, neither you nor I are going to say carbs are bad, fat is bad. That, we neither of us believe that. And it's one of our, kind of like pillars, is there is no bad food. It's just bad decisions around food. And this is one of those really easy decisions that we can make, and it's beneficial, one, for that. If you're strength training, if you're doing actual working out, like real strength training, it's going to help with muscle building and muscle recovery, which we know is one of the biggest issues why people fail in implementing these changes, is they're not getting the results that they think they should, or their body is overtrained and not getting the recovery that it needs. So this is a good way to prioritize that.
Mm-hmm.
But also, it's a good way to prevent overeating as well, right?
Yep. So I think in practice, there's a million different ways you can get protein. Meat, eggs are some of the more logical ones. If you're practicing vegan, obviously things like tofu, beans are good sources of protein as well. Not to get into the supplements world too much, but I like a protein shake here and there. It's a good way to, when it is difficult to hit a protein target, to get a bit more of it into the diet. And so I do use things like a whey protein or a pea and rice blend protein for more of a plant source protein, and find great benefit in doing that. But what I'm aiming for is somebody who's attempting to gain muscle, and to keep it relatively simple is to eat 1 gram of protein per pound of target body weight. So if I'm trying to gain some weight in the form of muscle, I figure out what that target weight is, and I don't track really anything else beyond just trying to pay attention to, am I getting close to that target weight in grams of protein in any given day? And that's a lot easier than being overwhelmed with tracking calories and macros and worrying about fats and carbs, if you hit that number, you're going to have a hard time overeating the other things without being uncomfortably full. So I
Right.
think it's a really good approach to nutrition in getting started, whether your goal is building muscle or body recomposition or losing weight. My anecdotally, my mom is a great example of this. She came to me months ago after a roller coaster of different nutrition strategies, drinking ketones and going on these meal plans through Octavia. And I started looking at what she was eating, and it was close to 1,000 calories a day only, just totally stalled in her weight loss. And I simply told her, try this for me for a month. Just give me 1 month and eat your target body weight and protein and get a Fitbit and try to walk somewhere between 10 and 12,000 steps a day. And simple, right? 2 of our early points here: eat more protein, walk and move more. She was probably eating more calories than she was on some of those other diets. She lost 5 pounds in a month. Just doing that, just focusing on very basic things. And she, on top of it, enjoyed life so much more because she hit that protein target and she wasn't so concerned about everything else around that. She ate till she was full. She hit that protein target. She started getting a little stronger. She walked and moved a little more, and she saw better results than she'd seen on all of these things that people had been selling her over the past few years.
Yeah, and you know, you can still go out to eat and not freak out about what's on the menu. You can,
Yeah.
you know, you can just keep the habits that you already enjoy about your life. It's just bring a little bit more intention to them.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, that's the place to start. You know, we can, you know, we'll talk more about the value of tracking, like why and when it
Yeah.
actually would be beneficial to track macronutrients a little bit more detailed, you know, in the future. But for somebody getting started, the biggest issue that I see and hear from a lot of, you know, from a lot of clients who come in and, you know, say, I've tried this and it didn't work, is because they're given so much that it's impossible for them to succeed. They, you know, they're not focused on, it's not like, you know, we got to remember that with a lot of these, you know, a lot of us we're starting at kindergarten for our fitness age, you know, for our
Mhm.
nutrition age. This isn't stuff that we learn in school ever,
No.
you know, unless you took, unless you took a kinesiology course, unless you took a class in nutrition, and those are really only offered in college, and you have to be on that specific track anyways. It's not
Yeah.
something that we're taught as kids, and so, you know, you got to remember that, like, you know, my son's 6, and when I talk to him about protein, it's the same exact conversation I'm having with my clients, because it's what they can understand and what is a realistic change that they can make. And, you know, but when I think about the changes that I've made in my, you know, my routine, I got another one for you. And it's not what we're eating, but it's about what we're drinking. And so I guess, what is this, yeah, point four. And then we had our little be wary of salesman pitch. But, you know,
We'll
so
count at the end. We'll figure out a number
okay, all
down
right.
on the list.
So whatever number we're on, it's just drink some more water. And
Yeah.
from a nutrition standpoint, if you are prioritizing protein and getting adequate hydration, you are going to set yourself up for, just massive, massive amounts of success.
Yeah. I mean, that's a really simple one. But staying hydrated is critically important. All the cells in your body need water to function.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Andrew Huberman. He just posted something. I think the recommendation from all of the literature review was around 8 ounces of water for the first 8 hours of the day, and 5 ounces for every hour you're awake after that. And then obviously a bit more if you're sweating or working out or in a warm environment. But that's pretty actionable, right? That's like, I don't know, 64 ounces during the workday. And then, you know, if you're awake for another 5 hours after that, another 25 ounces. It's not that much water, but I think you'd be quite surprised by how often people don't really drink all that much water. And it's a calorie-free, really good practice to have, is just to figure out how to get more of it.
Well, and it's also going to help with feeling full, feeling
Yep.
satiated, because a lot of times, we mistake hunger for thirst.
Yep.
But then also you think about, especially, and I know Huberman is a fan of water first thing in the morning as well, because of what it does to really get your metabolism going to, and making sure that your organs are all functioning properly. Because if you're dehydrated, you're not working. Your internal organs are not operating at their peak, and that is, I mean, it's like not getting an oil change in your car. Your car's going to run. It's going to run, but it's going to make some funny noises, and it's not going to be like it should.
Yep.
So, one thing that I guess we should say here, because I've always known that you can overdo it on water. Conceptually, I always knew that. But I never really thought that it was something that, is really that realistic. But I found myself getting to the point where, I was overhydrating a little bit. So, I want to talk about what that feels like. And for me, I was nauseous, and, it'd be nauseous, dizzy, needing to sit down, feeling really bloated, around your stomach. So we say drink more water, but you got to be intuitive with it. Now, obviously, if you don't drink a lot of water now, and then you implement that, Huberman method of, so it was 8 ounces for the first 8 hours of the day. So every hour, first 8 hours, you're drinking 8 ounces of water, which is what, like 3/4 of a glass, half a glass.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the day, it's 5 ounces for the rest of the time that you're awake. If you're not a big water drinker, you're going to pee a lot. Don't let that stop you. You're going to take more frequent trips to the bathroom. You're more hydrated, and your body also needs to, catch up. Now, this might not be the right conversation to start talking about electrolytes, trace minerals, those types of things. But, I think people should understand that if you're just drinking plain water, and you're flushing your system, your body's not able to absorb it unless it has adequate amounts of sodium in the diet as well. So that's something that you can either make sure you're getting it through food. So making sure that, your diet has enough sodium in it, but you can even just add a little bit of salt to your water, or like now there's all those different electrolyte packets. I know that we're both fans of LMNT,
Yep.
because they don't have sugar in it, where
Tastes
I know
good.
that some of those other brands like Liquid IV, I think the first ingredient is sugar. But that's a more detailed conversation for another time. Just understand, if you are peeing a lot when you're drinking more water, maybe add a little bit of salt to it to make sure that your body's actually able to absorb it.
Yeah, that morning big glass of water tip I love. I've implemented that in my life, and it leads to some glorious morning poops too.
Oh.
It really gets the system moving. So it's helped with my regularity on the toilet as well. Speaking of poop, the next tip here is one more that's nutrition related. And I think that by following this, you'll find gut benefits as well. And it's more just about what you put around that protein emphasis. And I think the goal is to focus on whole natural foods as much as possible. And a good way to do that is just try to eat the rainbow, eat for variety.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, try to make it as colorful as possible. In doing so, you're going to ensure that you get a diversity of micronutrients. So it's actually the different micronutrients and antioxidants in food that give it its color, which is really pretty interesting. but also by eating a diversity of plants and different whole foods, you're getting a variety of different types of fiber into your diet. And we, again, at a later date, when we get more into some of this stuff, can talk about how important fiber is for a number of different things. But by doing that, you're creating a diversity of gut bacteria that are really beneficial for a number of different things. And so I think without talking about which foods are good and which foods are bad, that's simply by aiming for whole natural foods as much as you can. That's not to say to get dogmatic about it or beat yourself up when you eat processed foods. I eat them every day, but 70-ish%, 80% whole natural foods, and just trying to eat the rainbow, eat the broccoli, eat the banana, eat the orange, eat the red cabbage. Get creative and try to eat as many different types of these things as you can. It's a fun way to experience food, and it does have benefits with regard to your digestive health and getting different sources of fiber.
And I think it actually makes grocery shopping a lot easier too, because you can just, going in there, if you're not a meal planner, or, you have these like big detailed lists, you kind of just shop for what you feel like, you grab some red stuff. Okay, I got some apples. Cool. Like, we'll grab some green stuff over here, yellow stuff over there,
Yep.
And just, make sure that when you look down at your cart, it's not all brown.
Yeah. Or in a package. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, yeah, right. So it can be that simple. And I also, I also learned, because you said that it was the nutrients that give it its color, right? So that translates, between fruit and vegetables, as well, and it's not necessarily a perfect translation, but a lot of the, if you're, let's say, and this, is a good tip for, for kids, because we know that if you got kids, they can be picky eaters. It might be tough to get them to try new stuff, but they like apples, and normally it's like they prefer fruits over vegetables. And obviously just eating fruits is, can have its own, you need to add the fats and the proteins to make it balanced. But if you're struggling, say, you don't like cabbage, you don't like red cabbage, find a fruit of a similar color, and it's probably going to have similar nutrient benefits.
Yeah, that's interesting. I may have misspoke. I'm not sure that it's the nutrients that give it its color, but to your point, the colors of different things, I think, are often related to the nutrient makeup of said food.
Sure.
So
Dylan's the scientist. I don't claim to be.
Right.
But what
I gotta go read the papers and the books again. The point is simply that by eating a variety of different colors of whole foods, you're gonna get a wide profile of different nutrients into your diet.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Whether it's fruits or vegetables or otherwise.
Yeah. So I mean, thinking, this next concept that that I think this applies to both nutrition and to actual, like, to exercise, is being curious and not judgmental when it comes to some of these changes, and how you're looking at these new strategies that we're talking about. Because it gets really easy to get down on yourself when something's not going the way it is, that you expected it to, or you're finding that it's a hell of a lot harder right now. But it's just something where, if you can give yourself the grace to say, well, I'm playing with it, I'm experimenting here, then it just kind of, and I'm gonna mess up. This is not this isn't something that's rigid. It gives you the freedom to have an off day.
Yeah.
To take 2 steps forward and take 1 back. And this is my favorite thing about approaching things curiously, is how, you become more apt to trying new things, which, I mean, that's how you find out what works and what doesn't.
Gives you room to grow and evolve too, right? Like, If you're already perfect, then what are we even doing here? What are we even trying to learn or talk about or do? To the example of the whole roll of Oreos, right? You could be home on a Friday night, sit down after a long week of work, you worked your ass off, you want to just go sit on the couch and chill. You eat some dinner, you sit down with some Oreos at the couch, and all of a sudden the whole roll of Oreos is gone. There's a number of ways that you can approach that. And I think a lot of people, the way that they would approach that is, damn it, why did I do that?
Yeah.
That was such a
They
bad
beat
thing to
themselves up.
do. And beat
Yeah,
yourself
yeah,
up.
I suck.
If you
I messed up.
if you reframe that experience to say, I'm curious about what led to me eating through that whole row of Oreos. And how can I ensure that I don't do that again? I enjoyed them, but I kind of ate them mindlessly, and it wasn't really that, I didn't find that much pleasure after Oreo number 2. So what can I do next time to make sure that I can still have my Oreos, but not eat the whole damn row? And maybe
Right.
it leads you to, when you buy the Oreos, you're going to take some little snack size baggies and you're going to put 3 cookies in each bag, and that's how you're going to store them. So the next time you go to grab cookies to sit down on the couch and watch your movie, you just grab one little bag and you go sit with it and you eat those and you experience them and enjoy them. There's so many opportunities for learning when you're curious about things versus so judgmental about everything. And I think nutrition, fitness, life in general, this is one thing that I so strongly believe in, is just having a curiosity about all things in life. Approaching this way in life is so good for general health. It's good for understanding other people. It's good for getting around the bullshit of all the divisiveness that's just inherently built into life and politics and whatever it is. And it's really empowering, especially in this nutrition space, to be able to see something and be curious about it instead of just blindly aligning with somebody because you like their personality or because they're an expert in something. I'm not even asking you to blindly agree with our list of 10 things here. I just hope it sparks some curiosity in you, that maybe you go out and challenge some of it, try some of it, see where it takes you. These are simply, this whole thing that we're doing is really just about our own curiosities, what we've learned for it, sharing it with other people to become part of the discussion, right? And so I think you can probably tell I feel very passionately about this just in life, because it is so important for relating to new ideas, relating to other people, getting through life, which is so difficult without beating yourself up for the inevitabilities of challenges and mistakes and things. Yeah, I feel strongly on this one.
It's one of those things where like we ask other people all the time, how you doing? Right? You know, one of the first, if you run into somebody, and half the time you don't really mean it. You know, how you doing? You want them to say good, you just keep going on your way, or you know, talk about the stuff that you actually want to talk about. But how often are we stopping and asking ourselves, how am I doing?
Yeah.
You know, checking in and being genuinely curious, like, oh, I'm not doing well today.
Right.
Like, what's up with that? And then you start to understand that you are not your emotions. The way that you feel, and you're not even the pain in your body. You know, once you can disconnect, take a step back, and now we're getting, you know, a little Eckhart Tolle, you know, power and now, you know, conceptual stuff. But it's just we focus on the, you know, on these changes without stopping to assess how they make us feel.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, this is going back to episode 1, where it's just, once you do something, be curious about how it makes you feel later.
Yeah.
When you eat something, how do you feel 5 minutes after? When you exercise, how do you feel 5 minutes after, or 10 minutes after, a half hour after? You know, keep checking in with yourself. But you know, we all kind of got to be our own, you know, research team with this, and making sure that we're just checking in, because it gets so easy to just lose sight of where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And then you wonder why things aren't going your ways. Well, shit, I haven't checked in with myself for days, weeks, months, years. No wonder things haven't been going my way, because I haven't been steering the boat this whole time.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think hopefully this podcast offers this platform for curiosity generally. I mean, I think it's a core tenet behind what we're doing here. So this falls somewhere between 7 and 9 on the list. I don't know how many we're at. Again, we'll count at the end and put it in the title of the podcast. But this curiosity piece is really kind of core to what we're doing here. The next one is really about habits. And I think we both read James Clear's book, Atomic Habits. That is a great read that I'd recommend widely for everybody with regard to, as you're curious about things and identify different habits that are good or bad, or you want to, not even good or bad, but that you maybe want to do more of, or maybe try to do a little less of. There's some really good strategies in there for doing that. And one thing that he hits on frequently throughout the book is figuring out ways to make the things that you want to implement in your life and or remove from your life as frictionless as possible.
Yeah, totally. So if there's something that you know you want to do, and this, I'll just steal the example right from the book, because it's kind of hilarious. But he's like, if you decide I'm going to start exercising, day one is just laying out the exercise clothes, maybe just looking at them. Yeah. Maybe you're feeling enough motivation, I'm going to put them on today. But that's it. Okay, that's it. Day one, done. Day two, I'm going to change into my exercise clothes and I'm going to get in my car. Okay, boom. That could be day two. Maybe you're feeling like, oh, well, I'm already in my car, I should at least drive to the gym. That's it. Yeah. You don't even have to go in. Yeah. That's two. Day three, you've laid out your clothes. They're already sitting there for you. You get in the car, you drive, you go in. And I guess the point is like, and you take that until eventually you're doing a full-on exercise routine in the gym and it becomes a habit, but we're building on it step by step. And we're making those habits that are making it easier for us. So I wake up and my clothes are immediately there. As far as what I'm going to do in the gym, this will be my next point, but have a program at the gym. I think that's, so
you don't show up and wander aimlessly trying to figure out which machine to hit, right?
Right. Yeah. But if there's something in your life, if there's a habit in your life that you want to implement, you got to find a way to make it as frictionless as possible. Yeah. Now, in the converse, if there's something that you want to remove from your life, you need to make as much friction as possible.
Which takes us, I don't know why I'm so hung up on Oreos, but pro tip, you take a fork and you stick it in the middle of the Oreo, and then you get a glass of milk, and then you don't get your fingers wet, you just dip the Oreo in there on the fork and just let it stick in there till it soaks up all the milk, and then you can eat it right off the fork. It's an amazing way to experience Oreos.
But that's frictionless. That's making it.
Well, to the creating friction point, what I brought up with regard to just when you bring the Oreos home, put them in little baggies, right? Totally. So that you don't go sit down. You could do it with potato. You can do it with anything.
Right.
Portion it out and know that when I want my chips, I'm going to have them, but I'm just going to have this many. I'm not going to sit down with the whole bag or sit down with the whole thing of Oreos where there is no friction to me just grabbing another one until the whole row is gone. The removal and creation of friction and just figuring out how to habitualize some of this stuff is so important, and really can be relatively simple to do if you have the right strategy.
Yeah, and also being patient with it, because this is a big thing is a lot of times we want to make these massive changes right now, and then but there's a saying that we've heard a million times: Rome wasn't built in a day. And in order to make a habit stick, it needs to be something that you do consistently over and over and over again. And so instead of saying, and that's why with a lot of, I have clients that, and a lot of them come in super motivated, something happened, there's some pain point that brought them to call me. And they're saying, I'm ready to make changes in my life. That's, and okay, so how are we going to make those changes? Well, I want to start by exercising 3 days a week, maybe 4. And it's like, okay, great. How many days a week do you currently exercise? Well, 0. Okay, right. So we're going to start with 1.
Right.
We're going to start with 1, and we're going to start with an at-home workout. And that's what I do. So all my clients send them an at-home workout to try out on their own first before we start doing too many sessions, before we do, real sessions in person, we're just getting that habit. How did that movement go?
Right.
How did that feel? And starting to develop those habits, baby steps at a time, instead of trying to leap over the chasm that, you've created for yourself, because the habits led you in the other direction. So, that's something that's so huge, and it goes perfectly with, something that I feel really strongly about. And I already, brought up at the beginning of this one, but, if you're going to want to have success in the gym, real success, you gotta have a good program. And the best way to have a good program is to have one. You can buy one. You can just, go on the internet and Google what it is that you're after. Obviously, I'm going to argue that I think you should consult with a professional and have them look at the way your body moves and develop a program that is tailored to you specifically. But, say that's not in your budget, or, just not something that you're ready for yet. You can go online nowadays, and you can get a strength training program for free. But the key is sticking to it. And so you've got your program, and that's what you're going to do in the gym, because that is a major point of friction that even I, as a trainer, run into, where if I don't know what my program is, I can't just go to the gym and goof around. I need to know, okay, today is leg day, and I'm starting with 3 sets of 15 reps of Bulgarian split squats, and I want to take each of those to a rep or two short of failure. It needs to be that detailed for me, because that way there is no gray area, and there is no way to deviate,
And it
because it's
removes
exhausting.
friction. It removes the friction.
Yeah.
Right, to the previous point. I think it's critically important that you have a good strength training program. One of the reasons that comes to mind for me has a lot to do with what you laid out in the previous example, where you have somebody who had some pain inspire them to show up in the gym. But we know that most people that show up to the gym stop coming to the gym relatively quickly. And a lot of yeah, they bank on it. In fact, that's the whole business model of Planet Fitness. They sell like 80% more memberships than they're even capable of.
I think it's more, more than
serving.
that.
Yeah, maybe. And they just know that it's inexpensive enough that people aren't going to cancel and they're not going to show up. They know that. They built their whole business model around it. But I think a lot of that has to do with exercise not really being capable of fully resolving that pain. And once you get into the gym, needing to find a way to reframe what success looks like. And the best way to do that is through a program where really your goal is just to show up and try to do a little bit better every time you do. And it's laid out for you in a log, and it's laid out for you in exercises and in phases, and it's fun, and it's built in a way to help you progress so that you can habitualize it, relate to it differently, show up, try to get one more rep on that shoulder press or whatever it is, so that you leave the gym every time you do feeling like, wow, I am improving. I am getting a little bit better. And that journey, that success that you start to see is something that may keep people in the gym a bit longer. So I really, really feel strongly about the importance of having a good program. And it can be really basic and kind of scale from there, which is where, to the next point, having a good partner trainer to sort of keep you accountable, guide you through the process, support you. There's a number of benefits to that, and you can probably speak best to them as a trainer yourself.
Well, I mean, but even so, yeah, obviously having a trainer, someone there who has, studied this stuff, who, is actively practicing this stuff, and then, has a handful of clients that they're applying it to on a daily basis, there's no substitute for that. Somebody that can watch you work and tell you, how you're moving, and give you, functional tips, whether it is a little bit more external stabilization or a regression of an exercise, or letting you know, and this is something that I find more often with clients than telling them you need to go lighter or you need, this sort of progression. It's letting them know that they're ready to progress, that
Yeah.
they're that they because there is so much fear over getting hurt while strength training. I think that's there's this big stigma involved. But if you have somebody there who's trained, who's watching you work, and can confidently say, you can do more, that is a huge, way to progress so much faster. And then it just, because we always are creating these little off ramps in our mind of, oh wow, that's getting hard.
Mhm.
But how hard is it really?
Yeah,
How many more reps can you do?
I've been strength training for a while, and I text you a video of myself doing compound movements semi frequently, because I know that you can kind of help me form correct and give me some advice. And to the point you're making right now, I did a deadlift yesterday and sent you a video, and your response was, it looks like you could do a little more.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
there's some benefit to being supported, not contained is the word that comes to mind, but sort of guided, right? Both with regard to scaling back to help you progress, but then as you do progress, to being able to push you to go a little bit further as well. And that whole
Yeah.
piece is important.
Well, yeah, for sure. But now, but it doesn't have to be that involved, because, an hour of a personal trainer's time is expensive,
Yeah.
and it's not accessible for everybody. I understand that. And, so then maybe, you just get some programming from a trainer that resonates with you. And then you just find somebody to go and do the work with together. Now, you got to make sure, with if you're just going to have a training buddy that is a friend that you're getting into fitness with together, you got to make sure that you're paying attention to each other's form, and you are scaling back a little bit to keep each other safe, because it is really easy to just start going gung-ho and trying to do more weight, and then you're working out with somebody who's a buddy, and you start competing with each other, and next thing you know, you're just in a pissing match to see who can bench them up.
Yeah.
When and then you both have fucked up shoulders because you weren't paying attention to the little things. So a training partner is great, the accountability is great, but if you're going to train with somebody that isn't experienced, isn't a trainer, doesn't have a lot of experience in that world, that is a time to scale it back. And if you're working out at a gym, there's probably a trainer around somewhere.
Yeah.
And if you just unless they're a total dickhead, a trainer, we love helping people. That's why we get into the job. So if I were at my gym and somebody that's not a client of mine pulled me aside and said, hey, can you watch me on this set and see how I'm doing? I'm 100 times out of 100, I'm going to help that person. So,
Yeah.
if you feel like something's off, or if you just feel like you're ready to progress and you just want to make sure, find that professional that can be that form check for you. Because a lot of times, and especially with amateur partners working out together, and if you're not following a program, you're just getting your exercises off Instagram, and you're seeing all these wild movements that are way too complex, and don't aren't necessary for somebody who's skill at the skill level that you're at. And so we could do this, honestly, we could probably come up with 50 points, but
Yeah.
I think the best way to kind of button it up here is to keep the exercises basic. And that's what I would look for if I were just shopping for an exercise program, or if I were trying to create my own, is to just make sure that the movements are scalable, make sure that they are loadable, and make sure that there's something that you can actually accomplish with good form. You don't need to be doing a barbell jerk unless you are planning on competing in some sort of weightlifting competition. You don't even need to do a kettlebell swing if you don't know how to do it. But it's about doing the simple things over and over and over and over again. And if you watched me train my clients, if you sat with me all day long, from when I get to the gym to when I'm done with my clients, you'd be bored to death, because it is a lot of those same movements over and over and over again, all day long, day after day, week after week, month after month. And that's not to say that there's no customization, there's no individualization, because there absolutely is. But the principles and the movements are the same throughout. It's just a matter of, what position am I putting this client in versus maybe, the position that I'm putting my, 30-year-old, ex-football player versus my 75-year-old is going to be vastly different. The load that I'm going to put underneath them, the positions, all that stuff is going to be different, but the movements are the same. And it's push, pull, hinge, squat. Though if you do a workout program with those 4 exercises in a movement in each one of those modalities, every time that you strength train, your program is going to be more successful than the majority of people that you see in the gym.
Yeah. And it's important to make the point here that things that are new, different, and contrarian are the things that sell the best. And so if you are out there in the fitness world looking for a way to get started, that's probably what you're going to come across first. And a lot of times those aren't the most effective. They're just the easiest to sell. It really is the basic exercises that were invented decades and decades ago that are really the most effective for achieving your goals. And so I would go as far as to say, just to kind of summarize this whole thing, that the basics are the best in the whole world of fitness and nutrition, right? To the name of our podcast, Better Basics. What we're really after here is how do we curiously navigate the world of fitness and nutrition to figure out what the best or better way is to approach some really basic things, and to communicate that to a large audience so that more people can get started, and not only get started, but keep going. And so I think, Matt, there's something that maybe we have to share with the audience that kind of encompasses, concludes the conversation around beginning a good strength training program and going after exercises that are really basic. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So, I mean, we're really happy to announce the launch of Let's Sell You Something.
This one's free though.
Oh, wait. Which one? What are we talking about today?
I think just the Better Home program, right?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Or Basic
Perfect.
Home. What are we going to call it?
Yeah, it's the Basic Home. So we are, we have completed a couple of different workouts, and next week we'll talk about our program at the gym. But for right now, we're ready to roll out Basic Home. So it's just an at-home workout guide. It's a program that's going to take you through those basic movements. There are a lot of it's body weight. There are some dumbbell movements that are going to be recommended, but we do also offer substitutes for anybody that actually doesn't have any sort of weights at home. Though, I don't have a light set of dumbbells to sell you, but if I could make a recommendation to anybody that is wanting to work out at home, just fives up to 25s even is,
or even the adjustable dumbbells. You can get them on Amazon. Those are great. I mean, they don't take up any space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really a fantastic tool. But to your point, if you're on the couch right now, you're in the car right now, and you're thinking to yourself, I haven't focused on my fitness in a very long time, and I want a really easy way, a very basic way to get started. This is the perfect way to do that. It is built with that in mind, to get those habits built, to get you started, to help you scale to a place where you may be ready to get into the gym. And we're going to have resources and programs for you around that. But I think, you know, thinking to the people that we're doing this for, the friends and family that we love, a really valuable resource for those people would be a program with some basic exercises that can be achieved as frictionlessly as possible. And that means doing it at home. So that's what we're after here, right?
And the cool thing about the Basics Home Workout Program is it all comes with, so it's two foundational workouts that are scaled over the course of 12 weeks. And it all comes with video. You get to see me doing all these exercises for you. So it's really, it's not just a sheet of paper that you have to kind of decipher and then go to YouTube to figure out how to do what you're doing. This is something where you can download, or we'll send you this program and you can get started with confidence pretty dang quick. So and this is something that we are giving out totally free, because we know that there are plenty of options out there for people to just get started in working out. And our biggest fear is people finding a program that ends up getting them hurt. And one thing that I can say, with certainty is if you do this program with the regressions that are offered, if you do them, in the ranges that we're telling you, you're going to feel stronger. You're going to feel better. If you're suffering from chronic pain, some of that, very well could start to go away. You're going to feel that muscle starting to grow. And you're going to feel even, beyond both of those things, that confidence that you're going to start, growing, that, can take you to the next level. Because all we want to do is give you the tools to build good habits. So, you go to you can go to my Instagram, The Basic Trainer, and you'll see a link there. If you go to our, the Better Basics podcast, just reach out to us and we'll send it over to you.
We'll share links to all this at the end of the podcast.
You can
throw the links in there.
Figure all that out. But
I just want to say, I think just to conclude, when we wanted to get started, we've been in a position where we wanted to get started so many times and tried literally everything, that all this program is a distillation of everything that we learned through that journey. So
it's so stupid because it's so simple.
It is.
And I fought with this program for months because I kept looking at it and saying, this is too simple. How is this the answer? But I've tried it myself. I run it with clients. This is the way to do it, because it doesn't need to be flashy. It doesn't need to be sexy. It just needs to be done. And you just got to do it well. So, I'm excited. I'm really excited for people to start trying it out, because this is a ton of hard work that we've both put in to get to this point. And this is all just, this is for you to have, because we're planning on doing this for a while, and we're planning on building out something really special here. And so we want to give you guys as much value as possible before we ever ask you for anything. Yeah. So, give it a shot. Let us know what you think. But yeah, it's called The Basic Home. And yeah, I really do think if you're just looking to integrate a little bit more movement in your life, you're looking to enter into the world of strength training, there's no better place to start.
Heck yeah, dude.
Are we gonna run down? Are we gonna to recap everything, or should we just put that in the show notes and people can
we can just list them quick.
All right.
Walk, move more. That's number one.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, eat at the dinner table. Be present with the experience of eating. Number 3, eat more protein, about 1 gram per pound of target body weight. Number 4, drink more water, but maybe not too much water. maybe add some electrolytes, sodium to that source. Number 5, eat the rainbow. Just try to eat whole foods and eat a diversity of different plants, vegetables, whole foods. Number 6, and in my opinion, maybe the most important overall, is just to be in life and in this whole fitness and nutrition journey more curious than judgmental. Number 7 is to remove friction from your life and to build habits that remove that friction for good habits or desirable habits, and to try to create more friction to encourage you away from those that are less desirable habits. Number 8 is to begin a good strength training program and follow a strength training program. Number 9 is to find a good trainer and or partner to guide you and work with you through this whole journey. And number 10 is that really it's the basics that are the best. We're going to give you that basic home program for free. And I guess I left out number 1 because we had a rogue one in there too, which was
It was be wary of sales.
Be wary of the salespeople in the fitness.
And that's just solid solid advice in general, where if somebody's telling you something because they want to sell you something, then you got to do a little bit more research. So
so it's 11 total.
11, yeah, whatever. Top 11.
Top 11.
We're doing something unique here. So thank you all so much for joining us on this journey, and we can't wait to see where it goes. Dylan, thanks so much, man. This has been fun.
See you, buddy.